A soft, warm hand touched my forehead and exclaimed joyfully, "Tao Tao's high fever has subsided." I shifted slightly, feeling a flood of countless memories rushing into my mind, some from my past life, and some from this one. The cries of little Peach Blossom and the children, filled with reluctance, still seemed to linger in my ears. When I opened my eyes, I found myself transformed into a little girl of about 5 or 6 years old, for some unknown reason. The original owner of this body had fallen into a lake while playing and fell seriously ill for 3 days. When she woke up, the soul inside had been replaced by me. Her parents were well-known wealthy merchants in the city, a loving couple who lived a prosperous life. She also had 2 mischievous older brothers, so unruly that even cats and dogs would avoid them, yet they doted on their only little sister as if she were the most precious treasure in the world. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. I have personally experienced a kind of familial affection I had never felt before. I could learn whatever I wanted and eat whatever I desired, living a carefree and comfortable life. But, as perfect as everything here is, my husband Jiang Debao is not with me. As I grew up day by day in this city nestled between mountains and a lake, everyone knew that the Hu family, the proprietors of the rouge and powder shop, had a clever and charming young daughter. Even before I had turned 16, suitors had already come in waves. My parents thought this one was good, that one was also nice, and brought a thick stack of profiles to ask for my opinion. I just shook my head. I want to wait a little longer, wait until the seasons change and the migratory birds return, wait until the spring breeze gently brings him back, since I can be reborn as a human. Maybe I can be a little more greedy. Could my Debao also appear in this world? The eldest brother was already married with children and was busy with his business outside. Only father was slapping the table and fuming with anger. This silly girl, this one isn't good enough. That one isn't suitable either. What on earth is she thinking all day long? As a merchant family, must she marry into the homes of nobles and officials just to be bullied, if you ask me? If little sister doesn't want to marry, then she shouldn't. It's not like our family can't afford to support her. The second brother protested loudly. Wasn't Dao Dao always bumping into things when she was little, and often saying strange things? It wasn't until we prayed for blessings at Mingjue Temple that she got better. Mother hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Why don't I take her to the temple in a few days to pray for a good marriage? Mingjue Temple, which had been relocated due to the wars of the previous dynasty, was situated in the outskirts, surrounded by peach trees. March was the season when peach blossoms were in full bloom, their rosy petals fluttering brilliantly like crimson clouds, smiling enchantingly. Many visitors had come to enjoy the spring scenery. My second brother accompanied my mother and me to offer incense at the temple, and we then took the opportunity to admire the flowers nearby. Just as I picked up a fallen peach blossom, the sound of galloping hooves suddenly echoed in my ears. Someone was the first to shout, "Bandits, run for your lives!" Instantly, the atmosphere shifted dramatically, with screams rising amidst clouds of dust. Huzhou City was prosperous and had always enjoyed good public security. I had only heard a year ago about bandits causing trouble in the tea estates to the east, but I never expected they would come here now. I was separated from my second brother and the others by the panicked, fleeing crowd. Seeing the bandits on their tall horses drawing nearer with excited whoops, I knew I couldn't outrun them, so I quickly ducked into a clump of bushes to hide. The deep laughter of men and the desperate cries for help filled the air. Then, one of the bandits used his sword to part the branches and saw my pale face. He froze for a moment, and so did I. All sounds of people and wind vanished from my ears. All I could see was Jiang Debao's face, which had grown somewhat blurry in my memory, suddenly sharpening as if someone had redrawn its contours and colors, vivid and alive once more. I only need to lift my eyes slightly to see his firm and handsome jawline. The young man before me had slightly immature features, his skin much darker, and he lacked that gloomy aura, yet I could sense a familiar presence. It was my Debao. Tears welled up in my eyes as I ignored the cold, trembling blade before me. Clutching tightly to the hem of his robe without letting go, my trembling voice was tinged with deep grievance. "Husband." He had just casually grabbed my beaded necklace and pulled it apart forcefully. At my words, he reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly bristling. "You, what nonsense are you shouting?" It was the same tone, even the same way of speaking, but unlike the delicate, obscure voice in my memory, there was now a hint of youthful clarity. I pursed my lips and smiled. "Xiao Jiang, what are you dawdling for?" A burly man with a thick beard ran over, sizing me up with a glance. "This young lady is quite a beauty. Take her along with us. Xiao Jiang lowered his gaze and saw that I was still tightly clutching his clothes, refusing to let go. I was afraid that if I let go, my husband would disappear just like before. Then I had to wait for a very, very long time. He pondered for 2 seconds, then flashed an ingratiating smile. Second in command, I don't want anything else for this trip, just give her to me as a reward. The big man laughed heartily and raised his horsewhip. So you finally want to have some fun too? Alright, take her with you. Who told you to hold me back and waste time? Xiao Jiang sneered while tying me up. Now it's settled. You're going to be taken into the mountain stronghold, and there's no escaping, my dear. My eyes were still moist, but a sweet smile curved at the corners of my lips. As long as you're here, I'm not afraid. You're so young, yet it seems like there's something seriously wrong with your head, he muttered under his breath, then took another piece of black cloth and covered my eyes. I admit my mind is a complete mess right now, completely overwhelmed by the joy of having regained what was lost. Jiang Debao has re-entered the cycle of rebirth and no longer remembers me. But it's okay, I remember him. This was the only wish I just made to the Buddha. And it was also the best birthday gift heaven has given me. They took me back to a makeshift stronghold deep in the mountains. Perhaps the loot from this robbery was quite good. Even though I was blindfolded and locked up, I could still hear the distant sounds of laughter and joy. I fell into a deep, heavy sleep, and had no idea how much time had passed before someone pushed open the bamboo door and entered. He removed the black cloth and leaned down, gently pressing close to my neck. Xiao Jiang's warm breath, mixed with the scent of liquor, lingered around me. It felt as though I, too, had been touched by a hint of intoxication, my heart pounding fiercely. Was he going to kiss me? Nervous and bashful, I closed my eyes. Yet he only untied the rope that bound me, and seeing me looking so submissive, he flicked my forehead with his finger. Ha, such big ideas for someone so young, me. Xiao Jiang had drunk quite a bit and was probably feeling a bit feverish, his outer robe hanging loosely over his shoulders, exuding a roguish air. Seeing him standing right in front of me, alive and real, my eyes welled up with tears again. He probably found it somewhat amusing. Didn't you bring this on yourself? Why cry? He poured a glass of water and handed me a roasted chicken leg. I was already starving, so I took it and ate while crying. Xiao Jiang glanced at me sideways. You trust me so easily, aren't you afraid I might have drugged it? It felt as if I had returned to that snowy night when we leaned on each other for warmth. After a moment of silence, I said firmly and obediently, my husband would only protect me, never harm me. He was immediately choked up. After a moment of contemplation, he asked, the work I do is all about licking blood off a knife's edge. Are you sure you've got the right person? I sobbed and replied, no mistake. It was in our past life when we got married. Seeing that my expression didn't seem fake, he stroked his chin and pretended to think for a moment. No wonder you look a bit familiar to me. Since we were married in our past life, that means we've done everything that should be done, so, why don't we relive it now? Xiao Jiang picked me up and carried me to the bed. Before I could even react, he had already taken off his shirt and pressed himself on top of me. I stared blankly at his teasing eyes, then reached out and wrapped my arms around his waist, my heart aching. He probably didn't expect me to be so proactive, and his entire body stiffened in surprise. I just felt miserable and on the verge of tears again. My husband's body is covered in bruises, both blue and purple, and there are many scars of various sizes. Did he also have a very difficult life in this lifetime? I clearly burned a lot of paper money for him and did many good deeds, all in the hope that he would have a better life in his next reincarnation. But it doesn't matter now, I've found him, and from now on, I will treat him even better so he never has to suffer again. I cheered myself on with full confidence, but as soon as I moved slightly, the rickety little bed creaked loudly. Xiao Jiang stared into my eyes for a long moment, then let out a soft, silent laugh. He pried my hand open with 2 fingers, lowered his voice to a whisper, like an intimate murmur between lovers, and said softly in my ear, don't move, someone's outside. His breath enveloped me tightly, making my head feel dizzy. It felt like a very long time had passed before he finally turned over, giving me his back. The person's gone, there's only one blanket, so we'll have to make do. If you dare to snore or grind your teeth and keep me from sleeping, I'll throw you out. Husband, don't go to sleep yet, could you first take me, to relieve myself? I asked him with a red face, my voice growing softer. I didn't want our first meeting to be this awkward either, but I drank water a bit too hastily earlier, and now I really can't hold it in anymore. It's pitch black outside, and I don't know my way around. What if I run into other mountain bandits or big snakes and wild beasts? What a nuisance. I've never seen a girl as shameless as you. Xiao Jiang said with a cold face as he got up, unceremoniously tossing his outer garment onto me. The mountain wind is chilly, put it on yourself, let's go. Once outside, I saw that this village occupied a large open area next to a cliff, with about 20 or 30 simple bamboo houses scattered around, and some shabby tents in the corners that also seemed to be inhabited. There was only one rugged path leading down the mountain, guarded by a few burly men, a classic case of easy to defend, hard to attack, after making an effort to memorize the terrain and taking care of everything. I followed Xiao Jiang back to the house. Now can I finally get some peace and quiet to sleep? He glared at me fiercely. By the way, I remembered something and whispered to remind him, in our past life, we actually didn't do anything. Back then, you were a eunuch. Xiao Jiang's unrestrained smile instantly froze on his face, and he said through gritted teeth, have you been playing me all along? What does it matter if I'm a eunuch? I never cared about it anyway. He stared at me in stunned silence, momentarily at a loss for words to refute me. The bed was too small. I turned on my side and wrapped my arms around his waist, just as he had held me on countless nights we spent together. Husband, I won't disturb you anymore. Sleep well. I'll watch over you. Xiao Jiang, get your paws off me, or you'll be sleeping on the floor. So fierce, my husband. I let go of my hand and gently leaned close to his sturdy back, maintaining an intimate, ambiguous distance without actually touching. Outside, the mountain wind blew, making the treetops whistle and moan. I only felt that the missing piece in my heart had been filled, and being by my husband's side brought me a sense of security and peace. In this life, my husband isn't called Jiang Debao. He asks me, like the other mountain bandits, to call him Little Jiang. A round-faced young man saw us come out of the room and ran over, slinging an arm around his shoulder with a mischievous grin. How did it feel to become a man last night? Little Jiang laughed and punched him playfully. It was great. If you want to know how it feels, go ask your wife. Several people around burst into laughter. It's great to be as handsome as Xiao Jiang. There are even girls who would rather give up being a wealthy young lady to follow him eagerly. The young lady is also longing for love. I just wonder if our brother Xiao Jiang satisfied her last night. Ha ha ha. Xiao Jiang was used to hearing such crude remarks, but he couldn't help turning back to glance at me, a hint of awkwardness flickering in his eyes. I gave him a reassuring smile. Husband, I've heard far worse rumors and slander in my past life than this. I'm not afraid. You're not allowed to go anywhere. I'll come pick you up tonight. He took me to a few tents near the stream, gave some instructions, and then left on his own. The tents here were all occupied by the girls who had been captured from the tea mansion earlier, a total of 8. I heard there were even more before, because during the day they had to do hard labor like washing clothes and cooking, and at night they were abused at will by those bandits. Several girls couldn't bear it in the end and jumped off the cliff to end their lives. The sister-in-law mentioned by Xiao Jiang, the wife of the round-faced young man, Sister Hong, was also inside. She and I were probably the most special ones, only working during the day, and able to return to our men's rooms at night. I was well aware that in this place where there was no concept of law or morality, if Xiao Jiang didn't protect me, I would likely end up like the others. But will he really protect me all the time? I naturally trusted Jiang Debao in my past life, but in this life, he doesn't remember me anymore. He won't even tell me his real name. Can I trust him with all my heart? The other girls were busy with their tasks, occasionally looking up at me with numb expressions before quickly shrinking back and lowering their heads. Only Sister Hong put down the dirty clothes she was washing, warmly pulled me aside, and chatted with me for a bit. I heard you followed Xiao Jiang willingly. What, did you know him before? She asked curiously. You weren't even afraid of coming into a bandit's den for him. I don't know him, I stammered in reply, but the moment I saw him, I felt as if I owed him from a past life. I didn't even have time to run away. True enough, Sister Hong said, seemingly stirred by my words into distant memories, murmuring softly, otherwise, why do they all say women are foolish? Delayed for a lifetime by a single word, love. If it weren't for my man back then, I wouldn't have chosen this kind of life either. Xiao Jiang is quite skilled and sharp-minded. I've heard the boss has intentions to groom him. You're the first woman he's sought out since joining the stronghold, so just settle down and live a good life here with him. Sister Hong finally comforted me, patting my hand. I shyly agreed, but in my heart, I was shaking my head. I don't want to. I want to take him with me. My husband deserves a better life. When not out robbing homes, the bandits often went hunting in the forest in groups, both to train their skills and to add some meat to their diet. Xiao Jiang caught a rabbit today, skinned it, coated it with honey, roasted it, and brought me more than half of it. Husband, there's something I want to tell you, I said while nibbling on the rabbit meat. After several days together, we had grown much more familiar with each other. He had even grown too lazy to correct my way of addressing him over and over again, so he asked languidly, "What is it?" I put down the rabbit leg, wiped the grease from my hands, and whispered, "Let's run away, let's leave this place." Oh, the candlelight flickered, and Xiaojiang's face remained expressionless, making it hard to discern his feelings. "I thought you were quite content here, eating well and sleeping soundly beside me." He looked at me with a half-smile, his gaze intense. "Didn't you always say you'd stay by my side and protect me forever? What, are you starting to find me a burden now?" I mustered my courage and said, "We have hands and feet, we can make an honest living doing anything. Why spend our whole lives as bandits, killing and plundering? Besides, I've noticed these mountain outlaws are a recent bunch, thrown together hastily. Their loyalty is far from solid." He gave a rare nod of approval and clapped a few times for me. "Well said, go on. I've observed that the guards outside the stronghold doze off secretly after midnight. We can seize the chance to escape, take the horses, and run. They won't catch up with us anytime soon. Once we reach the government offices, we'll be safe. I've learned a bit of martial arts before, I won't hold you back." At my strong insistence, I learned martial arts with my second brother when I was young, with the goal of if anyone dares to bully my husband again, I'll beat them to the ground. I trained seriously for 5 or 6 years, and dealing with 1 or 2 people was no problem at all. "It seems your promise to protect me wasn't just empty words," he said, his casual attitude turning a bit more serious. "But have you noticed, if the management is so lax, why don't others try to escape?" That's because those who tried to escape ended up dead." "Ah, is that really the case? Have you noticed that usually only the second-in-command is seen around here, while the legendary cunning and ruthless leader has never made an appearance?" I guess I haven't really paid attention to the bandits' rankings either." He pondered for a moment, as if making a decision, and looked at me solemnly. "Miss Hu, regardless of whether what you said about your past life is true or not, I just want to ask you now, can I trust you?" "Of course," I patted my chest in assurance. "Please trust me as much as I trust you, husband, in this world. There is no one who wants to protect you more than I do." He closed his eyes, his Adam's apple bobbing. "If you stare at me like that again, you'll find out what happens." Xiao Jiang, whose name is Jiang Cheng, is a young general who infiltrated the bandits' lair, all for the sake of the great chieftain who has never shown his true face. Last time during the Tea Estate's bandit suppression, he managed to escape and later secretly gathered new followers to commit crimes all around. As long as he remains at large, these bandits will eventually make a comeback, disturbing the peace of the common people. After listening to Jiang Cheng, I raised a question. Could the leader be a woman? He pondered slightly and said, "We've considered that possibility, but it's been inconvenient to investigate the tent area." "If you could," I grinned, wrapped my arms around his neck, and whispered in his ear, "If the leader could indeed be a woman, then I think I know who it is, Sister Hong." I once saw Sister Hong coldly forcing the round-faced young man to kneel and admit his mistake, her eyes filled with disgust, clearly devoid of any affection. She did her work very perfunctorily, washing the same few pieces of clothing over and over, and when she held my hand, I could feel the calluses in her palm, the kind that only years of martial arts practice could form. Jiang Cheng listened, and after a long pause, he finally spoke with disdain in his eyes. "Had enough hugging. Get your paws off me." "Hihi, had enough, I've already made a profit." With a clear suspect in mind, everything proceeded smoothly. One night, a large troop of officers and soldiers, holding blazing torches, surrounded the entire mountain stronghold, capturing all these wicked bandits in one fell swoop. Sister Hong tried her old trick again, blending into the group of victimized women to slip away, but was stopped, after severe interrogation. She was indeed revealed to be the legendary leader of the gang. The round-faced young man was merely a decoy for Sister Hong. She had once been a woman of the Jianghu, but after her family fell into decline, she married a bandit leader. After her husband was killed by the officers and soldiers, she secretly took over his power. I tightened my clothes and followed the winding march of the army, seeing Jiang Cheng waiting quietly on horseback by the roadside ahead. The flickering firelight behind him made him look like a solitary, cold deity. The deity extended a hand to me. "I was the one who brought you here. Come together, leave together." 1 month after being abducted by mountain bandits, I finally returned home safely, though not without some fright along the way. Although I was unharmed, the gossips around me were saying all sorts of things. My parents were worried to death. but they didn't dare show the slightest hint of it in front of me. Dao Dao, that young general who brought you home the other day, will he really come to propose? Mother asked cautiously. I remembered Jiang Cheng escorting me to my doorstep. He sat high on his horse, looking at me as if he wanted to say something but hesitated, finally squeezing out just one sentence. I'll give you an explanation. Stay at home and wait for me peacefully. So I sweetly replied with an amham. Second brother went to gather information and didn't return until 2 days later, fuming. There's only one young general named Jiang Cheng, around 17 or 18 years old. He's the youngest son of General Jiang of Nanjun. A family like that is far beyond our reach, and I've heard he's been betrothed since childhood to the daughter of the Minister of Personnel, little sister. Are you sure you haven't been deceived? Impossible. I shook my head. He wouldn't lie to me. My husband wouldn't lie to me. The girls of Huzhou City are skilled with their hands, and most wear wedding dresses they embroidered themselves when they get married. I began to embroider my wedding dress stitch by stitch with delicate gold thread on the finely woven, high-quality red fabric. I was immersed in the joy of reuniting with my husband-to-be. Even though my embroidery skills had become quite rusty, I didn't even feel the pain when the needle pricked my finger. Fortunately, Jiang Cheng didn't make me wait long. The people sent by the general's residence had arrived. My second brother secretly took me to the front hall. We had just carefully hidden behind the screen when we heard a cheerful woman's voice. The general's mansion holds an exceptional status, although young General Jiang is the youngest son. He is a brave and honorable young hero. For your daughter to be chosen by him as his sole concubine is an immense fortune and joyous occasion. Concubine. The smiles on both second brothers and my faces froze simultaneously. The matchmaker continued chattering beside us. Young General Jiang holds your daughter in high regard, which is why he specifically sent us here, although it is a concubine position. The principal wife is still observing mourning rites and won't enter the household for another 2 years. She comes from a respectable family and follows proper decorum, so she would never make things difficult for your daughter. You can simply prepare to send your daughter off this year to enjoy a life of comfort. My heart felt as cold as if it were wrapped in a block of ice. So, this is what Jiang Cheng calls taking responsibility. Indeed, he remembers nothing of the past. To him, I am merely a stranger he happened to spend a month with. Nothing happened between us. And for him, a young general of such high status, to take responsibility and offer me, the daughter of a merchant, the status of a concubine, it must be considered a gesture of favor, right? I couldn't help but step out and saw my parents' slightly pale faces. I gave them a reassuring smile, though I may be of limited talent and learning. I have heard that the Nanjun General's mansion has a long-standing reputation for loyalty and integrity. I presume it has no habit of forcing virtuous women into concubinage. With a cold smile, I tore the document to shreds inch by inch. If not, please convey to General Jiang that I do not consent. The torn pieces of the document fluttered and scattered in the air, much like my heart, which had been ruthlessly crushed. I loved my husband and waited for him all these years because he loved me too, only me. If in this life he still has to share a shred of the love meant for another woman and give it to me as charity, then I don't want it, nor will I wait any longer. I gave second brother a sorrowful smile. Hasn't the family always wanted to expand business in the southwest? May I go with you? Second brother eagerly agreed. After thinking for a moment, I said to him again, before heading southwest. Please accompany me to 2 more places. Second brother, hoofbeats and bells tread through dreams, returning to the hazy moon over the capital, a shattered dream in an empty city. Although several emperors have come and gone, and dynasties have changed, the capital has always stood unchanged. Too many beautiful and sorrowful memories remain here. The grand mansion where Jiang Debao and I once lived has been demolished, replaced by a luxurious and imposing restaurant. Customers come like clouds and leave like the wind. The pastry shop that little Peach Blossom and I ran in the southern part of the city has long been lost to the passage of time, but the Peach Blossom Grove, surprisingly, has been preserved and even expanded several times over. Because of this, I can no longer find the place where my husband was once buried, but it's okay, he's doing well now anyway. A man in fine clothes and high spirits, full of ambition and vigor, is the person my Debao most wanted to become. He no longer remembers the past and has a brand new life that's just as well. I buried the bright red wedding dress I made with my own hands under the peach tree. With a personality like Jiangqing's, he wouldn't pester after being rejected. We probably won't see each other again in this lifetime. Let's just treat all that happened in the past as a dream that left no trace. It seems I ought to, start living the life I'm meant to live. But fate is ultimately hard to predict. Will we really never meet again? The journey to the southwest was fraught with difficulties, but with the efforts of my second brother and me, the branch of the rouge shop was successfully opened a year later. The girls in Sichuan are bold, spirited, and eager to pursue beauty, so business at the shop was quite good. Half of the customers came for the new rouge products, and the other half came to see me, a handsome and gentle young shopkeeper. Skilled in women's makeup, smiling and speaking sincerely. I'd like him too if I were them. Back then, for the sake of convenience, I disguised myself as a man and ended up stealing all the limelight from my second brother, the shopkeeper, which is why he still hasn't found a girl he likes. However, the cosmetics shop occasionally had male customers. Some bought for their wives or daughters, while others were harder to figure out, like, each of you pick a box, my treat. A young constable said with a grimace. Boss, I'm the youngest in my family, and my mother is almost 60. I'm not even married. What use do I have for rouge and powder? The imposing young constable at the head said impatiently. Aren't I single too? I may not be married now, but I will be someday. Just take it. Why all the fuss? I couldn't help but laugh and pulled him back. Brother Lin, the goods in our shop sell really well. There's no need to force yourself. His handsome face flushed slightly as he shoved a piece of silver into my hand. Manager who, we genuinely want to buy it. Please take the money. Ever since I helped Constable Lin catch a female thief last time, he's been dropping by our shop every now and then. I reluctantly accepted the silver, sighing inwardly. Alas, the constable knows not the price of cosmetics. Another loss for me. Oh well, consider it a gesture to build good relations with the officials, being new here and all. A good portion of the displayed goods were bought by the constable squad. I walked to the storeroom to open the newly arrived shipment for inventory and shelving, only to find a person hidden inside the crate, disheveled hair, a sharply defined face. I was so frightened that I couldn't help but cover my mouth. While he looked at me somewhat flustered, it was Jiang Cheng. His fierce expression faltered for a moment as he withdrew the short sword he had been using to threaten me. His eyes briefly dazed. Dao. I calmed down and, expressionless, slammed the box shut with a thud. Footsteps paused behind me. It was Constable Lin turning back. Shopkeeper who, I forgot to mention earlier that there have been bandits around lately. The authorities are assisting the prince's estate in the investigation, so please be extra cautious. If you notice any suspicious individuals, you can send someone to find me anytime. I'll always be here. I smiled and agreed. Seeing him out the door, then instructed a few people to carry the box into my room. After everyone had left, I closed the door and opened the box. Come out. Jiang Cheng had injured his leg, and I helped him sit down on the edge of the bed, yet he simply stared at me with unblinking dark eyes. Why are you here? That was exactly what I wanted to ask him too, but as the words reached my lips, I suddenly realized I had no right to question him, so I simply kept my mouth shut. Seeing that I didn't respond, he paused for a moment, his voice choked as if something was stuck in his throat. At that time, why did you refuse? I went to look for you, but your family only said you had left home for a trip. His face darkened as if it could drip with gloom. You refused. Was it because all those things you said before, about liking me, about wanting me to protect you, were all lies? Just looking at his expression, it seems as if he were the one whose sincere feelings had been betrayed. My one-sided attempts to get close to him seemed to have caused him distress as well, so I answered bluntly, no particular reason, I just don't want to be a concubine. I thought you would marry me as your wife in this lifetime, just the two of us, together forever. I had thought my heart was already as still as dead water, but as I spoke, my eyes grew red and teary against my will. He had probably only briefly wondered whether I liked him or not, never expecting such an answer. After a long silence, he finally spoke with bitter self-mockery. So that's how it is. I was too shallow. It's only right that you hate me. Do I hate him? To be fair, he doesn't remember anything. For a stranger like me who took the initiative, he has actually been quite responsible. It's just that I was too greedy. I don't hate you. I shook my head. I believe in General Jiang. You are a hero who defends our country. You saved me once, and now I've saved you. After this, we owe each other nothing. Oh, each other, nothing, Jiang Cheng repeated darkly, his pale fingers gripping the silk quilt tightly as he silently closed his eyes. Is it the wound that hurts? I pulled up his pant leg, saw the gruesome and bloody wound on his leg, then took out the golden wound medicine and bandaged it for him. He slightly opened his eyes, looking at me with some surprise. What are you looking at? I said coldly. I learned a bit when I was young. You can't go out now, and even if you don't trust my medical skills, you'll just have to bear with it. After bandaging the wound, I handed him a black veil. You must be that wanted bandit everyone's talking about, for safety's sake. You'd better cover your face. Jiang Cheng seemed provoked by my fierce attitude, as if he no longer recognized me. Hearing my words, he dazedly covered his face with the veil. I quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Calling him masked is actually because the sight of this face, branded on my heart, makes my heart ache. Fortunately, my second brother, who dislikes Jiang Cheng, has gone out to transport goods and won't be back for 10 days to half a month. Jiang Cheng and I are now in completely reversed situations. Once, I could only wait for him to bring me food in a shabby little bamboo hut, but now, until his injuries heal, he has to hide in my boudoir and wait for me to return. Every time I secretly brought food to Jiang Cheng, changed his dressings, and gave him medicine, I had the illusion of hiding a cherished beauty away in a golden house. It just felt rather nice. Constable Lin found out that I had bought medicine for blood replenishment and detoxification, and even during his duty hours, he sneaked over to the shop to repeatedly ask me what was wrong and where I felt unwell. After reuniting with Jiang Cheng, my temper had become a bit uncontrollable, and I snapped back impatiently. Brother Lin, are you really going to pry into a lady's private troubles? Constable Lin fled in shame. Who says straight men are clueless? It seems Constable Lin had already figured out I was a woman when I helped him catch the thief. I've also sensed his feelings for me, but right now, I just can't accept anyone else. As long as he doesn't say it out loud, I'll have to pretend I don't know. It took Jiang Cheng 2 days to realize that, since no one else had seen him, it didn't matter whether he covered his face or not. He knew he had been made a fool of, gritting his teeth, deliberately flaunting his clean-shaven face in front of me all day long. A husband is a husband, and Jiang Cheng is Jiang Cheng. I kept repeating this silently in my heart, but on the surface, I remained calm and indifferent, acting as if he were invisible, seeing that I showed no reaction. Jiang Cheng grew so angry that he laughed, then came up with a new way to torment me. Lying on the bed, he asked with a sinister tone, Dao Dao, do you like your eunuch husband more, or me more? I answered without hesitation, of course, it's my husband Jiang Dabao. Hey, really? But when I think that it's actually me, I can't even bring myself to be jealous. He chuckled mischievously. What to do? In this lifetime, if you're going to like someone, it can only be me. I'm so angry I want to hit someone. Day by day passed like this, and Jiang Cheng's injuries had mostly healed. The look in his eyes when he gazed at me grew deeper, until someone came to search the premises. Constable Lin called out cautiously from outside, Little Hu, are you asleep? It was a relief that it was Brother Lin. I pressed down on Jiang Cheng's hand holding the sword, messed up the bedding to cover him, took off my outer robe and slipped under the covers, answering lazily, Brother Lin, what is it? The royal guards couldn't wait any longer and kicked the door open, a group of them rushing in with swords in hand, scanning the surroundings. Constable Lin rushed out in great displeasure, standing in front of the bed to block everyone's view. This place is only so big, and shopkeeper who has already gone to bed, where could there be any bandits? The leader of the guards, who was familiar with him, glanced at the bed and joked with a smile, You're so protective of your shopkeeper who, anyone who didn't know better would think is your wife. Because we were so close, I could clearly feel Jiang Cheng's body stiffen upon hearing these words. Now is not the time to act on impulse. I had no choice but to reach out and gently stroke the back of his hand to soothe him. Just like how I used to calm the furious, snarling, and bite-ready Big Yellow in the past. Jiang Cheng indeed slowly relaxed and even took the opportunity to firmly grasp my hand. I was afraid of making a scene and didn't dare to pull away. Captain Lin punched the guard. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry to the next house. Once we're done, I'll treat everyone to drinks. He deliberately slowed down and fell behind the others, eyes fixed on the ground as he whispered to me. Little manager who, sorry to disturb you. You should rest early. Jiang Cheng sulkily bit my hand. Just like a big yellow dog, I forced myself to ignore the strange sensation on my hand and nodded farewell to Constable Lin. Thank you, Brother Lin. After everyone had left, I immediately threw off the covers and glared resentfully at the bite mark on my hand. Is General Jiang born in the year of the dog? Then why don't you bite me back? He extended a hand toward my mouth, and when I turned my head away, he laughed triumphantly. Leave a mark so you won't be so easily swayed by Brother Lin calling you little shopkeeper who a few times. I thought this was inappropriate and glared at him angrily. Jiang Cheng, you're about to get married soon. Stop bothering me. Once you're healed, leave, and from then on, be devoted to your wife. There's no one else. He put away his smile and said to me seriously, after you rejected me, I was angry for a long time. Thinking that all the women in the world who know how to sweet talk are quite detestable, I no longer wanted to marry just anyone, so I asked my mother to discuss calling off the engagement with the other party. Your mother went. I admit I was still a little curious, just a little, of course not. My father even gave me a beating, saying it was a marriage arrangement set by my grandfather. Unless the other party brings it up first, we should keep our promise. The Prince of Shu had long harbored rebellious intentions, so I took on this dangerous investigation mission myself. If she insisted on marrying me, she might end up a widow at a young age. The other party got scared and took the initiative to break off the engagement. Dao, if it were you, would you be afraid? Of course not. It's not like I haven't waited for him in my past life. But now the main point doesn't seem to be this. Jiang Cheng's eyes narrowed with satisfaction as he said pitifully, as long as you're not afraid, otherwise, I'd be left alone in my old age, or maybe even die on the battlefield with no one to collect my bones. Me, he nimbly rolled out of bed. My injuries are almost healed. I should have left to report back yesterday, but I couldn't resist staying by your side a little longer. He packed his belongings neatly and looked at me hopefully. Dao, before I go, could you call me husband one more time? My mind was still in a daze, and in the end, I only managed to say indifferently, General Jiang, take care on your way. Jiang Cheng's eyes dimmed, and finally, he leaned down and whispered in my ear, leave Shu as soon as possible and go home to wait for me. He also left a gentle kiss on my forehead. Damn it, my face flushed uncontrollably again. When second brother returned, I told him the whole story, and he immediately jumped up. You met him again, and spent so much time alone with him. Second brother, frustrated with my lack of progress, wanted to shake my head to bring me to my senses. I pushed his hand away. You, who've been single since birth, wouldn't understand. I can't just leave Jiang Cheng injured and do nothing. Second brother's focus was indeed diverted by me. Who is the reason I'm single? That Shosho girl I had my eye on last time. We were getting along just fine, but who knew as soon as you showed up? Her eyes were only on you, and the time before that, he started his tearful complaints again. Phew, I dodged a bullet. We quickly settled the matter of the shop, telling outsiders only that an elderly family member was seriously ill and we needed to go back to take care of them for a while. Constable Lin hurried over, looking reluctant. Little Hu, when will you be back? Brother Lin, I might not be coming back, I said with deep regret. His smile froze on his face. I wanted to get closer to you before saying this. Is it too late now? He clenched his fists, his voice hoarse. Officer Lin had helped me a great deal and was a very kind person, but I could only wave goodbye to him. Halfway through our journey, we heard that the emperor was furious and had dispatched the imperial army to conquer Shu. General Jiang was among them. My heart tightened, and I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Several days later, before we even reached Huzhou City, news came that the king of Shu had been defeated and taken his own life. Before his death, he sent assassins he had raised in his palace to kill several military commanders. General Jiang was severely wounded while saving a comrade, and his fate remains unknown. I am a eunuch, and after I die, no one will burn paper offerings for me. Let it be buried with me, so that in the next life I can become a whole person. As long as you're not afraid, otherwise, I'll only grow old alone. Or perhaps end up dying on the battlefield with no one to collect my bones. If he were living a good life in this world, enjoying himself freely, with a harmonious family, I might be able to let go, but I can no longer bear the pain of watching him pass away a second time. I pursed my lips and tugged at my second brother's sleeve. He sighed. Let's head back, I'll go with you. The smoke of battle had just cleared, and the army hadn't fully retreated yet. We sent word to someone, and a young man came over, giving me a few glances. You say you're the young general's fiancé. What's your name? My name is Hu Tao, Jiang Cheng. He calls me Dao. I was still dressed in men's clothing and felt a bit embarrassed. It's not easy to see Jiang Cheng. I can only say that. The young man smiled slightly. So you're the Dao he's always talking about. My second brother and I quickly followed him and saw Jiang Cheng resting in the tent. He was still unconscious, and when I saw that haggard, pale face, my eyes welled up with tears instantly. Seeing that I wouldn't let go of Jiang Cheng's hand once I held it, second brother turned his head away. The assassin's blade was poisoned. Although the army doctor has drawn out the poison, no one knows when Jiang Cheng will wake up, the young man said with some reluctance, suddenly remembering something. He took out a stack of papers from the bamboo chest by the bed and handed them to me. These are letters he wrote whenever he had a moment of leisure. Later, the Prince of Shu took the initiative to attack, so he never had the chance to send them. I unfolded the papers and saw the bold, soaring handwriting on them. Finally, it's no longer like something a dog has chewed on. Peach Blossom, I have obtained my parents' consent. Once I return this time, I will marry you, Peach Blossom. It has only been a few days since we parted, yet the longing in my heart is especially tormenting. Tonight would be perfect for drowning my sorrows in wine, but unfortunately, the military forbids drinking. My longing for you is truly deep. You should have returned to Huzhou by now, and my heart is at ease. Peach Blossom, the king of Shu is stubbornly resisting, though I once promised to take care of myself. Once the war begins, life and death are hard to predict. If we never meet again in this life, I only wish you eternal peace and happiness. Do not wait for me. What kind of emotional turmoil did Jiang Cheng go through to write "do not wait for me," only to cross it out and then write it again, wanting to let go but unable to bear it? Truly, this is just like my husband's consistent style. Holding my breath, I barely managed to hold back my tears, folded the letter neatly, and tucked it into my embrace. May we accompany the army on its return journey to take care of Jiang Cheng? The young officer held a high rank, and under his arrangements, our carriage slowly followed at the rear. The military doctor came daily to treat Jiang Cheng. My task was to care for his physical well-being. The weather was stiflingly hot, so I had to fan him constantly and turn him over every 2 hours to wipe away the sweat that soaked his back, preventing bed sores. I couldn't get the medicine into him, so I held it in my mouth and passed it to him sip by sip. His pulse gradually stabilized, but he just wouldn't wake up. Taking care of Jiang Cheng along the way, I ended up losing weight myself, my face paler and more alarming than his. In front of the general's mansion, the young man had a conversation with General Jiang and returned Jiang Cheng. I watched the carriage slowly drive into the backyard and could only leave sadly, preparing to rent a house nearby to wait for his news. Mrs. Jiang called out to me from behind, her eyes were still moist. Thank you so much for everything along the way. Cheng'e wanted to marry you earlier and knelt outside his father's study for a full day and night before the general reluctantly agreed. It wasn't because of your background, but because in a military family like ours, a man's life is uncertain and full of hardships that most women cannot endure. Now, seeing how intelligent and resilient you are, and how deeply you care for Cheng'e, we are at ease, Lady Jiang said with a bitter smile. But with Cheng'e in this state, Miss Hu, it would be better for you to find another suitable match. After a moment of silence, I asked earnestly, Madam, Jiang Cheng once said he would marry me after returning from Shu. I wonder if the household has made any preparations. The betrothal gifts have long been prepared. But, Lady Jiang looked at me in surprise, her eyes glistening with tears again. Are you still willing to marry Cheng'e? Yes, for all our lives, never to part. I beg the general and his lady to grant us your blessing. My parents had long known my feelings, and seeing that I was still determined to marry Jiang Cheng, who was now half dead, they had no choice but to let me have my way. Second brother, stop sighing. My feelings are something a bachelor like you could never understand. After this trip, second brother has become much more composed. Hearing my words, he looked disdainful. If I hadn't always wanted to find someone I truly like, you could have been an aunt long ago. I wish you success in achieving your wish soon. In a few more days, I will be able to wear the bright red wedding dress and marry my husband again. Because of the wedding preparations, I haven't seen him for almost half a month. Although the general's mansion sends me news of Jiang Cheng every other day, I miss him so much. The guard who delivered the message today brought news. While trying on the ceremonial robes for Jiang Cheng, his fingers showed a slight reaction. This could be a sign that he will wake up, or it might be a prelude to never waking again. My fingers are clenched so tightly they've gone cold. On the day of the wedding, I put on delicate makeup and wore a phoenix crown and ceremonial robes, joyfully bidding farewell to my family. My second brother carried me on his back and helped me into the wedding sedan chair sent by the general's residence. This time, unlike in my previous life, it wasn't a simple, small sedan. 8 bearers carried it steadily, and sitting inside, I didn't feel the slightest sway. Just thinking that the one marrying me was him, my heart was so full of joy it nearly overflowed. But when we arrived at the general's residence, no one came to greet me even after waiting for a while, following the agreed-upon procedure. It was now the turn of the eldest brother of the Jiang family to kick the bridal sedan door on behalf of Jiang Cheng. Could it be? I was feeling somewhat at a loss when I heard the surrounding crowd burst into an uproar. I quickly lifted my veil and saw a hand with distinct knuckles pulling aside the sedan curtain. Dressed in red wedding robes, Jiang Cheng stood before me, smiling faintly. Why kick the sedan door? I couldn't bear to. he put my veil back in place and whispered, "Wait for me to unveil it again tonight. Come on, big brother, what are you trying to prove? If it weren't for your trembling hands, your face as pale as paper, and the fact that you could barely stand, I might have actually believed you." With the support of several guards, Jiang Cheng insisted on holding my hand as we slowly stepped over the fire pot. And we performed the ceremony amid the blessings of the crowd. As soon as we entered the bridal chamber, the crowd dispersed with laughter. Just as Jiang Cheng grasped a corner of my veil, he collapsed stiffly to the ground. I quickly checked his pulse, it was still steady. He must have fainted from suddenly exerting too much force. It took great effort to move him onto the bed, and I was drenched in sweat from the exertion. I had the maid bring in some water, wrung out a cloth, and wiped the dust from his face. Jiang Cheng woke up a moment later, and as soon as he came to, he grabbed my hand and smiled. I knew it, Dao Dao couldn't bear to part with me. No matter what, you would marry me. I held his hand back, my heart aching. When did you wake up? This morning. I vaguely heard someone say it was a joyous day. I didn't want you to be all alone, so I suddenly woke up. He pounded the bed in frustration. What a shame. I have no strength in my body right now. I can't do anything on our wedding night. He pondered seriously and said, "Didn't you say I was a little eunuch in my past life? All the things I owe you, shouldn't I make up for them in this lifetime?" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Well, thank you so much." He held me tightly in his arms, his body cold, and rubbed his newly grown stubble against my hair, saying with a smile, "Dao Dao, I'm so happy." I smiled sweetly, "Me too." My eyes saw nothing but my husband's handsome brows and eyes, and my own face reflected in his dark pupils. I could no longer see the room adorned in red, hear the clamor of the guests, or smell the heavy scent of medicinal herbs in the air. It felt as if only he and I remained between heaven and earth. Generation after generation, never to part. The end.